Imagine walking into your grocery store and seeing empty shelves where your everyday staples used to be. Not just temporary gaps, but entire sections labeled indefinitely out of stock. This isn't speculation, it's a looming reality. By August 2025, 10 everyday grocery items could disappear completely. These aren't rare foods, they're essentials most households rely on. The cause? A breakdown in global agriculture worsened by climate disasters and crumbling supply chains. Experts warn the crisis is accelerating, but many remain unaware. The good news? Understanding this now can help you act before chaos hits. This video reveals the 10 items at risk, what's driving the shortages, and practical steps to prepare. No need to panic, but waiting could leave you unprepared when others start scrambling. Stay tuned. This knowledge could mean the difference between a stocked pantry and empty shelves. Take action now for peace of mind later. 1. Vanilla extract. The vanilla extract in your kitchen, often indispensable for baking and desserts, is on the brink of becoming one of the most elusive and expensive everyday ingredients. The heart of this crisis lies in Madagascar, which produces about 80% of the world's vanilla beans. Environmental catastrophes and economic challenges have pushed this delicate industry to the edge. Over the past 3 years, multiple cyclone seasons ravaged the plantations, causing lasting damage to an industry that already required years to establish. These vanilla orchids depend on precise climate conditions, but the impacts of climate change, higher temperatures, and erratic weather patterns have made it nearly impossible for farmers to succeed. Vanilla farming is labor-intensive, requiring each flower to be carefully hand-pollinated by skilled workers. This delicate process has confronted a harsh reality as global labor shortages deplete the farmer workforce, and younger generations leave rural agriculture behind. Even the remaining farms are facing diminishing returns due to aging production vines, decreasing their annual output. Adding to the problem, vanilla beans need a full 18 months to mature, creating a lag time between climatic damage and its visible market consequences. The warning signs are already here. Wholesale vanilla prices have surged by 300% over the last year, and major manufacturers are securing long-term contracts, ensuring minimal availability for retail consumers. When August hits, pure vanilla extract might cost the same as fine liquor, if you can find it at all. Manufacturers are already reformulating recipes or switching to synthetic alternatives, but they remain silent about these changes to avoid consumer alarm. Those who rely on the unmistakable fragrance of real vanilla should act now. Stock up on pure vanilla extract while supplies last, and ensure it's stored correctly in a cool, dark area. Consider also adding vanilla paste to your pantry, as it's more concentrated and may remain accessible longer. 2. Cooking oils. Cooking oils, a critical component in everyday food preparation, are quietly becoming a major focus of concern as supply chains buckle under various pressures. The sunflower oil crisis has already gained international attention. Ukraine and Russia, which together contribute nearly 60% of the global sunflower oil supply, have seen their production grind to a halt amid ongoing conflicts. The lengthy wars have turned thriving farms into desolate fields, while processing plants have been destroyed or abandoned. Even if peace was restored, repairing this infrastructure and restoring normal production could take years. Canola oil is also coming under threat, but this time due to extreme weather. Canada, the largest producer of canola, suffered a catastrophic combination of drought and flooding over the last 2 seasons. Farmers have reported yields cut in half, and the erratic, unprecedented weather patterns make future harvests highly uncertain. Add into the mix the challenges faced by other alternative olive oil production in the Mediterranean is grappling with severe droughts. Palm oil faces sustainability restrictions, and avocado oil can't scale production fast enough to fill demand gaps. And the cooking oil crisis looks even grimmer. The shortages will come with widespread consequences. Average households will pay significantly more for basic oils, and restaurants will find it difficult to sustain deep-fried menu items without pricing customers out. Consumers may even need to rethink their cooking methods altogether, from frying and baking to methods requiring less oil, like steaming or broiling. To safeguard against these challenges, now is the time to stock up. Focus on versatile oils such as vegetable or canola oil, which serve various purposes, and explore coconut oil, which boasts a more stable shelf life. With preparation and resourcefulness, you can better weather the storm. 3. Spices. The spices sitting in your pantry bring complex flavors to your meals, but they also represent a fragile and elaborate web of global sourcing. Unfortunately, this supply chain is under immense pressure, and the cracks are starting to show. Take black pepper, for instance, one of the most commonly used spices worldwide. It comes chiefly from Vietnam and India, but Vietnamese pepper farms are dealing with degraded soils, while India's monsoon patterns have become wildly unpredictable. With growing regions being repurposed for other crops or urban expansion, black pepper production is sliding into decline. Cinnamon tells a similarly precarious story. What is often referred to as true cinnamon hails primarily from Sri Lanka, a country currently grappling with political unrest, economic collapse, and agricultural setbacks. Farmers can no longer afford fertilizers, and transportation bottlenecks prevent timely exports. Meanwhile, specialty spices face their own dire challenges. Cardamom, for example, which thrives in specific upland regions of Guatemala and India, is seeing traditional growing areas shrink as growers are forced to move higher and higher up mountains due to climate-induced changes. But as mountains have finite space, this migration has its limits. The growing demand for certain spices like turmeric, due to their health benefits, adds a new level of strain. Indian turmeric farms are reporting massive yield drops exacerbated by erratic rainfall, combined with skyrocketing demand from health-conscious global consumers. When supply dwindles, prices climb, and once common spices could become niche luxury items. If you enjoy flavorful food, now is the time to act. Stock up on versatile spices like black pepper, cinnamon, and paprika, along with whole versions of your favorite spices, as they tend to last longer. You might also consider growing hardy herbs like basil and rosemary to take some pressure off your spice cabinet during future shortages. 4. Premium rice varieties. For more than half the world's population, rice is a dietary staple. But specific premium varieties like jasmine rice and basmati rice, favorites among many households and cuisines, are already experiencing sharp declines in availability. Jasmine rice, primarily grown in Thailand, requires exact growing conditions, including careful water levels and consistent temperatures during its flowering phase. However, climate change has disrupted these conditions beyond repair. Farmers are abandoning jasmine rice altogether in favor of hardier alternatives, but the resulting crops lack the fragrant aroma and fluffy texture that jasmine rice is celebrated for. Basmati rice, grown primarily in India and Pakistan, is facing its own set of challenges. Intensified heat waves during crucial growing seasons have severely disrupted production. Basmati rice is particularly sensitive to temperature fluctuations, and when exposed to heat extremes, the grains shrink, losing their signature long-grain appearance and aroma. Unlike other commodities, premium rice varieties cannot simply be relocated to different regions. The unique soil and climate conditions in their native zones cannot be replicated elsewhere, meaning substitutes will never fully match the originals. The ripple effects are already visible. Certain restaurants that rely on authentic jasmine or basmati rice are running into sourcing hurdles, and specialty grocery suppliers are blending genuine rice varieties with less distinctive grains. However, these blends fail to deliver the same results that true premium varieties offer. The shrinking availability means now is the time to act. Start purchasing authentic jasmine or basmati rice while supplies are steady, and research proper storage conditions to preserve their quality long-term. Vacuum-sealed bags or airtight containers help fend off pests and maintain freshness. By thinking ahead, you can continue enjoying the superior taste and texture of these rice varieties in your household meals. 5. Real maple syrup. That distinctively rich and sweet flavor of real maple syrup has long been a breakfast favorite, but it's on the brink of becoming a rare luxury. Authentic maple syrup is sourced primarily from specific species of maple trees like the sugar maple, found in limited climate zones across the northern United States and Canada. To produce usable sap, these trees require a precise sequence of freezing nights and warm days during late winter and early spring. This delicate climate balance has been upended by erratic temperature fluctuations caused by climate change. Maple trees are struggling to adapt to new weather patterns, leading to sap shortages. Some producers in Vermont, one of the most prominent maple syrup regions, have even reported their worst harvests in decades. Beyond climate woes, several other environmental and economic factors are contributing to the syrup crisis. Forest fires in Canada have destroyed vast stretches of maple groves that took decades to mature. Acid rain, pollution, and the encroachment of industrial development further threaten these critical tree populations. Meanwhile, the labor and energy required for production have become more expensive. Producing a single gallon of syrup takes up to 40 gallons of raw sap, and this process requires both time and significant resources. For smaller producers, rising energy costs to boil sap into syrup are becoming unsustainable, forcing many to leave the industry entirely. Larger producers are trying to fill the gap through consolidation, but even they can't overcome nature's limitations. The impact on consumers is already noticeable, with prices steadily climbing over the past few seasons. Imitation syrups made from corn syrup and artificial flavorings will likely flood the market as authentic syrup grows scarce, but they lack the natural complexity and nutritional benefits of the real thing. If maple syrup is an essential item in your kitchen, now is the time to stock up. Look for larger quantities to get better value, and store it in a cool, dark spot at home. Alternatives like maple sugar or flakes, both of which have a longer shelf life, can be worthwhile substitutes for sweetening or cooking when syrup becomes inaccessible. 6. Specialty vinegars. While many people think of vinegar as a simple pantry staple, specialty vinegars like balsamic, rice, and aged wine vinegar are far more delicate and intricate to produce. Their production faces numerous challenges that could turn these culinary essentials into rare commodities. Traditional balsamic vinegar, for instance, is a product specific to regions in northern Italy like Modena and Reggio Emilia. It requires specific grape varieties, pristine growing conditions, and a decades-long aging process to develop its signature tangy sweetness and depth. Yet the same climate shifts that have disrupted global agriculture are now threatening the foundation of Italy's balsamic vinegar industry. Unpredictable temperatures, extreme storms, and widespread flooding have damaged grape harvests, which are critical to starting the long production process. The situation is similar across other categories of specialty vinegars. Rice vinegar, widely used in East Asian cuisines, depends heavily on fine rice varieties grown in regions already grappling with sustainability issues. Farmers in countries like Japan and China are increasingly forced to switch to more profitable crops that are easier to grow under current conditions. Meanwhile, wine vinegars are being hit on two fronts. First, by grape shortages caused by water stress, disease outbreaks, and heat waves in traditional vineyards. And second, by increasing competition for wine grapes, which are first prioritized for wine production. Specialty vinegars are particularly important because they serve both functional and flavor-enhancing purposes in cooking. From salad dressings to marinades to reductions, they deliver complex acidity and depth unmatched by basic white vinegar. Their loss will significantly alter how both home cooks and restaurants create flavor, forcing adaptations that compromise dishes relying on their distinctive profiles. With prices already creeping higher, now is the time to act. Secure a variety of specialty vinegars for your kitchen before they skyrocket further, focusing on high-quality and versatile options like balsamic, rice, or red wine vinegar. Be cautious when shopping, as mass-market imitations with artificial additives are likely to become more prevalent. Learning to preserve and develop personalized vinegar blends could also be a way to maintain culinary autonomy amidst growing shortages. 7. Certain nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds are indispensable ingredients for many modern diets, from trail mixes and energy bars to plant-based menus and baked goods. However, their production is about to face serious setbacks. Almonds, for example, largely derived from California's agriculture, are already experiencing enormous challenges due to the state's enduring water crisis. Almond farming demands an astonishing amount of water, nearly a gallon per nut, which is an unsustainable requirement given the ongoing droughts and expanding water restrictions throughout the region. On top of that, pests that thrive in California's newer, hotter climate are attacking almond crops at record levels, making farming even less viable. Some farmers are resorting to the extreme measure of abandoning their orchards altogether, as maintaining them is no longer financially feasible. Other varieties of nuts face their own unique hardships. Walnut trees, for example, need a specific amount of chill hours, or time spent in cold weather, in order to properly mature and produce high-quality nuts. With warmer winters becoming increasingly common, walnut production is shrinking, and traditional growing regions are being rendered unsuitable. Seeds like sunflower seeds are another casualty of global instability. Much of the world's sunflower seed production relies on regions currently embroiled in conflict or economic strife, such as Ukraine and parts of Eastern Europe. These geopolitical pressures, combined with droughts and supply chain disruptions, are creating a ripple effect that directly impacts consumer availability. Among the most alarming examples are pine nuts, a delicacy often used in pestos and other gourmet dishes. These nuts are harvested from slow-growing pine trees that take decades to mature, and current production levels simply cannot meet global demand. Climate-related droughts, fires, and invasive species targeting pine forests have created devastating consequences, leading to permanent loss of production forests. For people who value nuts and seeds in their diets, whether for health reasons or as part of specific eating plans like keto or vegan lifestyles, preparing now is essential. Stock up on versatile options that can be used across multiple recipes, such as almonds, walnuts, and sunflower seeds. Proper storage is key. Store them in airtight containers kept in cool, dark environments to prevent them from going rancid. Freezing is also a long-term storage option for certain varieties. By planning ahead and being mindful of how you use these essential ingredients, you can preserve their place in your kitchen and diet for as long as possible. 8. Specialty flours. For baking enthusiasts and individuals with dietary restrictions, specialty flours are a necessity, not a luxury. However, these niche options, like almond flour, coconut flour, and chickpea flour, are on the verge of becoming unaffordable and unattainable. The crisis begins with the raw materials. Almond flour, for example, directly correlates with the challenges facing almond production in drought-stricken California. The state produces 80% of the world's almonds, but with water shortages worsening and new pest species thriving in warmer conditions, almond farmers are scaling back or abandoning their orchards altogether. Since almond flour requires significant quantities of nuts to produce even a small amount of flour, the resource scarcity is amplified, pushing prices higher. Coconut flour faces similar supply chain vulnerabilities. Derived from coconut meat, this flour heavily relies on labor-intensive processing, which is being disrupted by labor shortages across major coconut-growing regions. Additionally, coconut palms are contending with an increasing prevalence of diseases and pests, which further reduce yields. Meanwhile, chickpea flour, key in both gluten-free and vegetarian dishes, suffers from surging demand that outpaces production. Growing interest in plant-based proteins has made chickpeas a global commodity, but the limited regions that can grow them effectively are experiencing erratic climate patterns that jeopardize harvests. These shortages have greater implications for those relying on specialty flours for health reasons, such as managing celiac disease or following restrictive diets like keto. Gluten-free and alternative baking as we know it might need to undergo a significant transformation to adapt to what remains available. For now, stocking up on versatile specialty flours and experimenting with alternative blends is a smart move. Invest in storage options such as airtight containers to ensure the longevity of your supply. And if you're serious about self-sufficiency, consider investing in a grain mill to make your own flour from whole ingredients when the store shelves run dry. 9. Traditional teas. Tea lovers may soon find that their comforting rituals are steeped in scarcity. Traditional teas, including black, green, and herbal varieties, depend on delicate agricultural systems and precise growing conditions, both of which are under threat. Earl Grey, beloved for its bright and citrus aroma, heavily relies on bergamot oil, which is derived from a specific citrus fruit grown in Mediterranean Italy. However, climate change has drastically affected this region with prolonged droughts, erratic temperature changes, and soil disruptions, leaving bergamot harvests strained and diminishing the quality of the oil. Without authentic bergamot, Earl Grey becomes little more than flavored black tea. Darjeeling, often hailed as the champagne of teas, tells an even grimmer story. The lush, high-altitude gardens of India where this tea is grown are grappling with rapidly changing climate conditions. Rising temperatures are shrinking the harvest window and altering the flavor profiles of the tea to the point where they no longer meet traditional quality standards. Compounding these challenges are political instability and labor issues in the Darjeeling region, which are disrupting production and export schedules. Green teas from Japan and China, prized for their freshness and health benefits, confront similar obstacles. Pollution in traditional growing areas has started affecting soil and air quality, compromising leaf safety and flavor. Additionally, shifting rainfall patterns are leading to overdevelopment or drought, which could impair the delicate growing and processing methods required to produce high-quality green tea. Herbal teas, including chamomile, peppermint, and other blends, are also at risk. Wild harvested plants are vanishing due to habitat destruction caused by climate disasters, while cultivated varieties face their own agricultural challenges. If tea plays a central role in your daily routine, start building a stockpile now. Focus on your go-to blends and educate yourself on proper storage methods to preserve their flavor and aroma for the long term. Locally grown herbal alternatives may also be worth exploring as a backup option when imported varieties inevitably become too expensive or disappear entirely. 10. Artisanal chocolate. Few foods bring as much joy as chocolate, but this universal comfort is becoming harder to produce and harder to find. The crisis begins at its heart: cocoa bean production in West Africa. These regions, particularly Ivory Coast and Ghana, are responsible for 70% of global cocoa supplies, but they are now struggling against a relentless combination of challenges. Climate change has destabilized growing conditions with progressively unpredictable rain patterns and rising temperatures that stress cocoa trees. Meanwhile, new plant diseases are rapidly spreading, devastating plantations. Economic and political instability in these cocoa-producing regions only compounds the issue. Many farmers are leaving the trade as rising costs and dwindling yields make cocoa cultivation unsustainable. Larger corporate farms are stepping in, but even they can't prevent supply shortages when the raw resources simply don't exist. The artisanal chocolate industry, reliant on high-quality cocoa, is bearing the brunt of these problems. Producing fine, small-batch chocolate requires access to premium cocoa beans and skilled craftsmanship, a combination that's becoming increasingly rare. Small chocolatiers are finding themselves priced out of limited cocoa supplies by larger corporations, forcing many to shutter operations. This will eliminate high-quality chocolates, exclusive baking cocoa, and the artisanal bars cherished by true chocolate connoisseurs. Even mass-market chocolate is quietly changing. To lower costs, manufacturers are diluting cocoa content with fillers and reformulating recipes to use less chocolate overall. The result? A noticeable decline in both taste and texture. Sadly, chocolate's role in celebrations, traditions, and baking might never be the same. Whether it's a birthday cake, holiday treat, or simply an after-dinner indulgence, these rituals are now at risk. If chocolate is as essential to your happiness as it is to so many others, prioritize building a stash of high-quality chocolate products. Seek out versatile options like baking chocolate or cocoa powder that can be used across multiple applications. Learn how to store these items properly in cool, dark conditions to prolong their freshness. Planning ahead now will ensure that you can still enjoy these special treats while others face empty shelves and rising prices. 11. Honey. Honey has been a cherished natural sweetener for thousands of years, but its production is under siege. Bees, which are crucial not only to honey production but also to the pollination of countless crops, are declining at an alarming rate. This crisis, known as colony collapse disorder, has been exacerbated by habitat loss, pesticide use, and the widespread effects of climate change. Without healthy bee populations, honey production in regions like the US has seen dramatic drops in output. Beekeepers are struggling to manage hive losses, and even those who persevere face rising costs for interventions, such as supplemental feeding or disease control. Imported honey, which currently supplements domestic shortages, isn't immune to these challenges. Countries like China and India, key global players in honey exports, are also seeing impacts from ecosystem disruptions and harsher agricultural conditions. Counterfeit or diluted honey is becoming more common as unethical producers attempt to exploit gaps in the market. This means even the honey you do access might lack the purity it once guaranteed. For everyday consumers, losing honey means more than just giving up a spread for toast or tea. Honey is used in baking, marinades, and natural remedies due to its antibacterial properties and flavor complexity. Its absence will leave a significant gap in both culinary routines and health practices. Stockpile raw, high-quality honey now while it's still accessible. Honey has an incredible shelf life when stored in a sealed container in cool conditions, meaning that what you buy today will last for years to come. 12. Frozen vegetables. Frozen vegetables, the ultimate convenience food for busy households, are next on the list of grocery items under threat. These products rely on robust agricultural supply chains as well as the energy-intensive freezing and storage processes that keep them viable. However, climate disasters have taken a toll on the produce that ends up in freezers. Extreme weather events, including droughts, floods, and unseasonable heat, have significantly reduced yields in key growing regions globally. What used to be predictable planting and harvesting seasons are now chaotic, making it harder for farmers to ensure consistent supply. Even when crops manage to survive the fields, a shortage of labor in the agricultural and food processing industries has started to slow production. Many workers have moved away from labor-intensive farm and factory jobs, creating bottlenecks in processing plants essential for freezing and packaging vegetables. Furthermore, energy costs for cold storage facilities have skyrocketed as nations grapple with higher electricity prices and even energy shortages. Some producers have scaled back operations, cutting less profitable lines of frozen produce from their offerings. Without frozen vegetables, households will face disruptions to meal planning and nutrition. These conveniently prepped ingredients are crucial for quick, healthy meals. For families who depend on affordable and accessible options like frozen spinach, broccoli, or mixed veggies, the shortage will mean paying higher prices, if they're even available. One way to prepare for this coming scarcity is to learn how to freeze fresh vegetables at home. Buying vegetables in season, blanching them, and storing them in airtight freezer bags can help you create your own frozen stash, giving you the ability to eat healthily, even when grocery shelves run empty. 13. Bottled water. Bottled water, a simple but essential commodity, is also under significant pressure. With global water scarcity intensifying, companies that rely on springs, reservoirs, and municipal water supplies are struggling to meet the growing demand. Natural water resources are being drained at unsustainable rates, particularly in drought-hit areas like California and parts of Europe, where water-intensive industries are coming under stricter regulations. These limitations are impacting high-volume bottled water operations, and many manufacturers are already being forced to reduce output. Additionally, production costs for bottled water have surged. The plastics industry, critical for creating bottle containers, is also facing challenges. Rising oil prices, stricter plastic manufacturing regulations, and environmental activism have increased costs and reduced supply. Efforts to promote eco-friendly alternatives like aluminum cans or glass bottles aren't scaling up fast enough to replace existing plastic-dependent bottling systems. Shipping delays and higher transportation costs further compound the challenges for both domestic and international water distributors. The exact consequences for consumers will vary, but economic and logistical barriers are already visible. Smaller, regional brands are disappearing from shelves, leaving only multinational corporations to dominate what remains of the market. This competition will push prices higher. Bottled water has been a go-to during emergencies, and for those lacking access to clean tap water, and its disappearance would affect millions of households, especially in areas where water safety is a concern. One way to prepare is by investing in water filtration systems for home use. Devices such as countertop filters, under-sink systems, or even portable water purifiers can ensure you always have access to clean drinking water. Stocking up on reusable bottles filled with filtered water is a cost-effective, eco-conscious alternative to relying on single-use bottles. 14. Citrus fruits. From oranges to lemons, citrus fruits play a fundamental role in diets around the world, but they are becoming increasingly difficult and expensive to cultivate. Citrus fruits require specific climates to thrive, relying on sunny, warm regions with consistent rainfall. These conditions are becoming harder to maintain due to erratic weather patterns driven by climate change. Unpredictable droughts, heavy rains, and wild temperature swings have taken a toll on prime citrus growing areas like California, Florida, and parts of southern Europe. Many growers report smaller yields and lower quality fruit as trees struggle to adapt to environmental stressors. Adding to the environmental pressures is the persistent threat of disease. Huanglongbing, better known as citrus greening disease, has devastated orchards globally with no effective cure in sight. The disease, spread by tiny insects called citrus psyllids, infects trees and renders their fruit unmarketable. Whole groves have been destroyed in regions where outbreaks were the worst, leaving farmers scrambling to contain the damage. Even in areas without severe infections, growers are spending more on prevention treatments, further driving up the cost of production. The disappearance of citrus fruits from grocery stores will mean major changes to diets and daily routines. Orange juice, a breakfast staple for many, may become a rare luxury. Baking recipes calling for lemon zest or fresh lime juice will require rethinking, and the absence of citrus could hinder the production of key flavor-enhancing ingredients like marmalades and syrups. To get ahead of the shortages, consider stocking up on frozen or canned citrus products. Alternatives like citric acid powder can mimic some of the tartness in recipes, and planting a small citrus tree, if you live in a warm climate, could offer a sustainable solution for your household. 15. Canned goods. Canned goods have long been regarded as reliable pantry staples, offering convenience and a long shelf life. But the production of packaged foods like canned vegetables, beans, and soups is facing mounting challenges that could lead to widespread shortages. The first major issue stems from raw materials. Fresh produce, from tomatoes to green beans, is in shorter supply due to extreme weather patterns and labor shortages in farming regions. Without consistent crop yields, manufacturing enough canned products to meet demand becomes impossible. The second challenge lies in packaging itself. Aluminum, which is critical for most cans, has seen drastic price hikes in recent years. These increases stem from a combination of supply chain disruptions, geopolitical tensions affecting key aluminum-producing regions, and surging energy costs in metal processing industries. Glass jars used in some canned goods face their own hurdles with rising transportation costs and delays. These bottlenecks mean that manufacturers are producing smaller quantities of canned goods to offset skyrocketing expenses. Canned goods aren't just convenient. They are essential for many families who rely on them for quick, budget-friendly meals, especially during emergencies. Soup kitchens and food banks heavily depend on these products to meet growing demand, meaning shortages could have far-reaching social consequences. To prepare, start stocking up on versatile canned items such as beans, tomatoes, and soups. Check expiration dates carefully. Most canned goods last several years when stored correctly. Additionally, you might want to explore pressure canning as a way to preserve your own produce at home. The looming shortages of essential grocery items highlight the fragility of our global food systems. Many of the staples we've long relied on, like cooking oils, spices, and even simple pantry basics, are at risk of disappearing due to climate challenges, supply chain breakdowns, and shifting agricultural conditions. These disruptions may feel overwhelming, but by taking proactive steps now, you can stay ahead of the curve. Stockpiling wisely, exploring alternatives, and learning preservation techniques are small but impactful ways to secure your household's food needs. This isn't just about preparation. It's about ensuring stability and peace of mind in the face of uncertainty. Don't wait for empty shelves to act. Start planning today so you can protect yourself and your family from the challenges ahead. A little foresight now could make all the difference.